Silence can be heavier than noise, not because the world is loud, but because the mind rarely stops speaking. There are days when the body feels perfectly fine, yet every step feels difficult. Sleep comes, but true rest does not. The heart keeps beating, but peace seems far away. Many people believe this exhaustion comes from working too much, caring too much, or simply living in a fast-moving world. Yet one of the deepest truths is far less obvious. The greatest weight we carry is often invisible. It is made of old regrets that replay without permission, painful memories that refuse to fade, expectations that were never fulfilled, conversations that ended years ago but continue inside the mind, and fears about a future that has not even arrived. None of these can be touched with your hands, yet they can become heavier than any physical burden. The surprising part is that the mind often holds on to these things because it believes they are protecting us. It tells us that remembering every mistake will prevent another one, that holding on to disappointment will keep us from being hurt again, or that worrying today will somehow control tomorrow. But modern psychology and ancient wisdom quietly agree on a different truth. The mind becomes peaceful not by holding tighter, but by learning when to loosen its grip. This simple idea has changed countless lives across different cultures and generations, yet it remains one of the least understood lessons. Letting go does not mean forgetting your past. It does not mean pretending that pain never existed. It does not mean becoming cold, careless, or emotionless. In fact, true letting go requires more courage than holding on, because it asks us to accept reality instead of fighting it. It asks us to stop arguing with moments that cannot be changed and begin living in the moments that still can. In this video, you will discover why the mind becomes trapped by attachment, why certain memories continue to steal your energy even after many years, and why chasing happiness often pushes it further away, while peace quietly waits in the opposite direction. You will also learn how ancient teachings about non-attachment are now supported by modern psychological research, why acceptance is often misunderstood, and how small changes in the way you think can slowly replace anxiety with calm. As this journey unfolds, each idea will connect to the next, revealing that deep peace is not hidden in distant places or extraordinary experiences. It is often waiting beneath the layers of resistance we carry every single day. And before we reach the end, one simple realization may completely change the way you see your worries, your past, and even yourself. That final insight is often the missing piece people spend years searching for without realizing it. So stay with me until the very end, because each part builds toward a truth that is both gentle and powerful, one that becomes clearer only when the whole picture comes together. Welcome to the channel. If you enjoy thoughtful journeys into wisdom, inner peace, and the hidden lessons that can transform everyday life, make sure to subscribe and join our growing community. Now, take a slow breath, leave the noise of the day behind, and let's begin this journey toward the quiet freedom that appears when we finally learn the bliss of letting go. The mind is unlike any other part of the body. It never stops collecting. Every conversation, every disappointment, every success, every mistake, every fear, and every hope quietly finds a place inside it. At first, these experiences seem harmless. One painful memory here, one regret there, one worry about tomorrow, one expectation for next year. None of them feels heavy on its own. But over time, they begin to pile up, almost like invisible stones placed inside a backpack that we never remember taking off. Day after day, the weight increases until we no longer notice that we are carrying it. We simply accept exhaustion as normal. We tell ourselves that adulthood is supposed to feel this way, that responsibility naturally comes with stress, and that peace is only possible after every problem has been solved. Yet this belief hides a deeper truth. Most people are not only carrying responsibilities, they are carrying unfinished emotions. They are carrying conversations that ended years ago but continue inside their minds. They are carrying the fear of making the same mistake again. They are carrying expectations they placed on themselves long before they understood who they really were. They are carrying the pressure to become someone they imagined as children. They are carrying guilt over things they cannot change, and anxiety about events that have not even happened. These invisible burdens quietly demand attention every single day. That is why the mind feels busy even in complete silence. The room can be peaceful, yet the thoughts keep arguing. The day can be calm, yet the heart keeps racing. It is not always the outside world creating the noise. Very often, it is the collection of attachments we continue to protect. The stronger the attachment becomes, the louder the mind grows. It begins to replay old memories over and over, searching for a different ending that can never arrive. It imagines endless futures, hoping to control outcomes that cannot be predicted. It compares today's reality with yesterday's expectations until neither feels enough. Without realizing it, we spend more time living inside memories and possibilities than inside the present moment. This happens because the brain has a remarkable habit that once helped humans survive. It prefers what is familiar over what is unknown. Familiarity creates the feeling of safety, even when what is familiar is painful. A person may continue replaying an old heartbreak, not because they enjoy suffering, but because their mind has learned that sadness feels more predictable than uncertainty. Someone may continue defining themselves by a failure that happened years ago, because changing that identity feels risky. Another person may remain trapped in anger, because anger has become a familiar companion. The brain does not always ask whether something is healthy. It first asks whether it recognizes it. This explains why letting go often feels uncomfortable. The unknown can appear frightening, while old pain feels strangely secure. It is like staying inside a room with broken windows, simply because it has become home. Stepping outside into fresh air should feel freeing. Yet the mind hesitates because it does not know what waits beyond the door. This is why people often cling to identities that no longer serve them. Someone continues saying, "I am the person who always fails," because that story has become familiar. Others continue believing they are unworthy of love because they have repeated that belief for so many years that it feels like fact. Some remain attached to relationships that have already ended because releasing them would also mean releasing a version of themselves that existed within those relationships. Expectations become another invisible chain. We create pictures of how life should unfold. We decide the age by which success should arrive, the kind of family we should have, the career path that should make us happy, or the future we deserve. When reality follows a different path, disappointment grows. The pain often comes less from what happened, and more from the distance between reality and expectation. We mourn not only what we lost, but also the future we imagined. The longer we hold on to that imagined future, the harder it becomes to appreciate the life that is actually unfolding before us. This is where one of the greatest misunderstandings begins. Many people believe that letting go means forgetting the past, or pretending that difficult experiences never happened. Others think it means giving up, becoming cold, or no longer caring about people they love. None of these ideas captures what letting go truly means. Letting go is not the absence of love, it is the absence of unnecessary struggle. It does not erase memories. It changes the way memories affect us. It does not remove emotion. It allows emotion to move instead of becoming trapped. It does not ask us to deny pain. It asks us to stop fighting reality. There is an important difference between pain and suffering that many people overlook. Pain is part of being human. Loss hurts, rejection hurts, illness hurts, change hurts. No philosophy can completely remove these experiences because they belong to life itself. But suffering often grows from what happens next. The mind begins asking endless questions. Why did this happen? Why me? What if I had done something differently? What if the future becomes worse? Why can't life return to the way it was? Every question tightens the grip a little more. Reality remains unchanged, yet resistance continues to grow. It is like pulling against a river flowing in one direction. The harder we fight the current, the more exhausted we become. Letting go does not stop the river. It simply ends the struggle against it. The current was always moving. Our suffering came from demanding that it move differently. For thousands of years, wise thinkers observed this simple truth. They notice that everything around us changes continuously. Seasons change without asking permission. Children become adults. Trees lose their leaves only to grow them again. Rivers never carry the same water twice. Even mountains slowly change over time. Although the process is too slow for human eyes to notice, nothing remains exactly as it was. Yet the human mind constantly asks life to stand still. It wants joyful moments to last forever. It wants loved ones to remain exactly as they are today. It wants youth to stay, success to continue without interruption, and certainty to replace every unknown. The problem is not that we enjoy beautiful experiences. The problem begins when we demand that they never end. The more tightly we hold on to temporary things, the more painful their natural changes become. This timeless observation is not meant to make life feel hopeless. It does the opposite. It reminds us that change is not a mistake. It is the very rhythm of existence. When we stop expecting permanence from an impermanent world, we begin to experience life with greater freedom. Joy becomes richer because we appreciate it while it is here. Difficult moments become lighter because we know they will also pass. Instead of trying to freeze life, we learn to move with it. Peace begins not when everything stays the same, but when we stop demanding that it should. Interestingly, modern psychology reaches many of the same conclusions through scientific research rather than ancient reflection. Researchers have found that the mind often becomes trapped in a process called rumination. This happens when the same thoughts repeat again and again without leading to solutions. The brain circles around painful memories, imagined futures, and endless possibilities. At first it believes it is solving problems. In reality, it is strengthening emotional stress. Every repeated thought reinforces the pathway that keeps the worry alive. This is why some people feel mentally exhausted even after spending an entire day sitting quietly. Their bodies rested, but their minds never stopped working. Acceptance interrupts this cycle. Acceptance does not mean approving of painful experiences. It simply means recognizing reality without constantly arguing against it. Once reality is accepted, the mind gains flexibility. Thoughts continue to appear, but they no longer need to control every emotion. Feelings continue to arise, but they no longer define the entire day. Instead of chasing every thought or pushing every emotion away, we learn to watch them arrive and eventually leave on their own. A thought is no longer treated as an unquestionable truth. It becomes just another visitor passing through awareness. This simple shift changes everything. The mind stops creating endless battles against itself. Peace is not manufactured through force. It slowly reveals itself as resistance fades. This becomes easier to understand when we look at ordinary life. Consider someone whose relationship ended years ago. The event itself lasted only a short time, but the story continues every day inside the mind. Every new experience is compared to the past. Every quiet moment becomes another opportunity to replay old conversations. Healing feels impossible because the attachment remains active long after the relationship has ended. Or think about someone who worked tirelessly toward a career goal that never became reality. The disappointment is real, yet the deepest suffering often comes from refusing to release the belief that life can only be meaningful if it follows one specific path. Family conflicts create another example. Words spoken in anger may last only minutes, but resentment can survive for decades. Every memory keeps reopening the wound because forgiveness is mistaken for weakness instead of freedom. Fear of the future works in a similar way. The mind creates countless disasters that may never happen. It prepares for tomorrow by sacrificing today's peace. Regret follows the same pattern, pulling attention backward instead of allowing life to move forward. In every case, attachment quietly extends suffering beyond the original event. The event itself eventually becomes part of history, but the mind continues carrying it into every new day. Healing begins when we stop asking the past to become different and allow it to remain exactly where it belongs. The event may remain in memory, but it no longer controls your inner world. Learning to release this grip does not require extraordinary abilities. It begins with small, gentle practices repeated consistently. The first is simply observing thoughts without immediately following them. Not every thought deserves attention. Some are only habits repeating themselves. Instead of chasing each one, allow it to pass like a cloud moving across the sky. The same is true for emotions. Sadness does not need to be fought. Fear does not need to be hidden. Anger does not need to be fed. Every emotion changes when it is allowed to exist without resistance. Slow breathing helps because it reminds the nervous system that danger is not always present. Gratitude shifts attention away from what is missing toward what still exists. Returning awareness to the present moment interrupts the endless journey between yesterday's regrets and tomorrow's worries. Even silence becomes a powerful teacher. At first, silence may feel uncomfortable because it reveals thoughts that are usually hidden beneath constant activity. But with patience, silence transforms into a place of rest rather than discomfort. The mind gradually learns that it does not need to react to everything it experiences. This transformation cannot be rushed. Just as a tree does not grow overnight, inner peace develops slowly through repeated moments of awareness. Every small release weakens another chain. Every quiet breath creates a little more space inside the mind. As this process continues, changes begin to appear in ways that are both subtle and profound. The world outside may look almost identical, yet the experience of living within it becomes completely different. The mind becomes quieter because it is no longer fighting every passing thought. Sleep grows deeper because old conversations no longer demand attention throughout the night. Fear loses some of its power because uncertainty no longer feels like an enemy that must be defeated. Compassion naturally increases because we recognize that everyone carries invisible burdens of their own. Ordinary moments become surprisingly meaningful. A gentle breeze, a warm cup of tea, a quiet morning, the sound of rain, or the smile of a stranger begins to feel valuable again because attention is no longer trapped somewhere else. Presence replaces constant mental travel. The need to control every outcome slowly fades, making room for trust. Life itself may still include challenges, disappointments, and unexpected changes, but they no longer define every waking moment. Circumstances may not transform overnight, yet the relationship you have with those circumstances changes completely. That quiet shift, almost invisible at first, becomes the beginning of a peace that was never truly absent. It was simply waiting beneath everything you no longer needed to hold. As we come to the end of this journey, take one quiet moment for yourself. There is no need to rush. Simply pause and ask yourself one honest question. What is one thing you have been carrying that no longer deserves your energy? It could be an old regret, a painful memory, a broken relationship, an expectation that never became reality, or a fear about tomorrow that has been stealing today's peace. Whatever it is, notice how tightly you have been holding on to it. Then gently ask yourself another question. What would happen if, just for today, you loosened your grip? Not because it never mattered, but because your peace matters too. Letting go does not erase your story. It simply allows you to stop reliving the hardest chapters every single day. It gives your heart permission to breathe again. It creates space for hope where fear once lived, for gratitude where regret once stood, and for calm where endless worry used to echo. The deepest peace is not found by controlling every outcome, predicting every tomorrow, or changing everything that happened yesterday. The deepest peace is found by trusting life enough to let go of what you were never meant to carry forever. And sometimes, the greatest act of strength is not holding on. It is knowing when to release. If this message brought you even a little comfort, or helped you see life from a new perspective, don't let it end here. Share it with someone who may be carrying a silent burden of their own. You never know whose day, or even whose life, could change because of one simple reminder. If you enjoyed this video, please take a moment to like it. It helps this message reach more people who need it. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and join our community, where we explore timeless wisdom, inner peace, mindfulness, and practical ways to live with a calmer and happier mind. Thank you for spending this time with me. Until we meet again, take care of yourself, be kind to your mind, and remember that every new day is another chance to release what weighs you down and make room for the peace that has been waiting for you all along.